Marvel movie collection. Iron Man. Let's paint it.
Hi folks, Lawrence Mann, freelance illustrator and digital artist. Okay, so you're looking at a figure from the magazine Marvel Movie Collection, and this apparently is Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr. This is what it's supposed to look like, but after a bit of research, it looks like nobody got the figure that was advertised, and the figure that I got, everybody else has looked like that as well. But I contacted the company and said I wanted to make a YouTube video based on this and could they send me a better one out. They sent me another one, but it was actually worse. Ah dear. My original intent was to use this as an artist reference doll and do a nice sketch, because I've got a series of videos already about artist reference dolls and I thought it'd make a nice part to that series. I was actually going to subscribe to this magazine and do a video based on every different figure in the series, but because this figure was so bad, I decided not to invest. Like I say, I did a lot of research online and it looks like my figure was as bad as everyone else's. If you bought this magazine or if you looked at these figures anywhere else and you saw a figure that was as advertised, please let me know. Take it away, Tonys, I suppose. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Dancing Tonys. Yeah. Dance Tonys, dance. Woo! And man, look at those boys dance. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is actually take my Iron Man figurine. I don't want to call it Tony Stark because it's definitely not Robbie Downey Jr. and position it on the desk here. Realistically, what I want to do is I want to find a nice drawing position for the figure. You know, maybe even rest it on something so I can find a nice angle. Now, I have got a couple of things around the studio that are actually perfect for angling this on. I'm going to use a desktop computer mouse because I think that's something that most everybody has and it's quite easy to get hold of. So that's absolutely perfect. It has some nice angles to it. You know, it's a nice shape and it's pretty easy to use and it will stay there and it's quite stable. So once I found that, that's a really nice angle. I've also got my second one that I can bring in and just pose that as well. So that'll also give me some variation so I can see around that. Now, the equipment I'm using today, I'm going to be drawing it on the Surface Book, the Microsoft Surface Book. Now, this is the mid-range Surface Book, and this is absolutely great to draw on. I've had the Surface Pro 4 and I've had the Surface Pro 3, and they were absolutely great machines. But this is the Surface Book, and it's got the inbuilt GPU, which means it's really, really fast, and it's absolutely amazing to work on. I'm using Photoshop as well, just because I think it's something that people do request to see me work in. You know, I know there's a lot of Photoshop artists out there, so yeah, I'm just going to crack on in Photoshop. First thing I want to do is just to lay down some initial lines and sketches and just get a really, really rough outline put in here. Okay, so I'm going to speed up the video now and just get this sketch really laid in and really rough. Now, the first thing I notice is instantly that I'm not doing this anatomically correct because I'm not drawing a person. I'm drawing a suit of armor, and I notice that Tony's shoulder is actually a lot higher than a real shoulder would be. Things are in different positions than they would be in real life. Now, once I've got this initial black and white sketch laid down, it's really easy to just pop in a main color. And the great thing about Iron Man is he's basically red with a bit of gold. So yeah, I can go ahead and I could, match colors, but it's easy enough to just go in and guess at this point. I can color tone it all later, but I'm doing this all really, really quickly, and I'm just using Photoshop standard brushes, and I'm just going in and color picking and just guessing at whatever colors I'm using. Like I say, all Photoshop standard brushes. And the great thing is I've got my Wacom remote, and that's just out of sight there, but that's all basic setup, and it's pretty much the same as I use on my Wacom. Didn't have to do anything to set any of that up. And I've got a video on my YouTube channel about that and about how it works with the Surface Book as well. So that's really, really easy to use. This is all on separate layers as well. So the sketch and the colors and then the white highlights are all on separate layers. And I can turn the sketch off, or I can actually just turn the opacity down on that layer, which makes it even easier to work with. Now I'm just adding in some shadows as well. You notice that this is still really, really rough, but what I'm doing with each layer that I'm working on, I'm actually just tightening up my detail a little bit. For instance, on the helmet here, I'm just making it a bit tighter and tighter and tighter. You know, my brush is getting a little bit smaller every time, and I'm just making sure that those details are just coming in. Now, I'm actually sitting quite low at my desk, so I can see I'm permanently just kind of looking at the figure. I'm looking less and less at my tablet and more at my figure every time. Now, I've decided at this point, because the figure doesn't actually look like Robert Downey Jr. at all, and it's quite funny, to me he looks more... I don't know. He really doesn't look like Robert Downey Jr., and I find that really funny. So I've decided to not paint this as Robert Downey Jr. So yeah, I'm just gonna make this look like somebody else entirely. I don't know who it looks like at all. It looks like something else, somebody else. I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't look like anybody else. It looks like a different actor, but I can't think who off the top of my head. So I'm just gonna paint it as somebody else. And I think that would just be quite funny if it wasn't Robert Downey Jr. in there. It's kind of an alternative reality Iron Man. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And if I can think of the name of the other actor who it looks more like to me, then that's, yeah, I'll try and think of that. Again, just coming up with smaller and smaller details. The good thing is, while painting metal, you only really need... You don't need gradients, which is why Photoshop is better in some cases for painting something like this. If I was painting a wild animal, for example, I'd use Painter. I'd use Corel Painter, because I can come up with more natural fur and etc. etc. But for metal shapes, I prefer to paint in Photoshop. You notice here I'm using the Liquify tool, which has great new facial features set up in the Liquify. That's great. I'm still just tooling around on the armor. I'm now flattened all the layers, and I can just go around the edge and just use the eraser just to sharpen that all up, because obviously the sketch is in there and all those different layers of colors and highlights, etc., etc. But it's really easy to just go around and just, delete everything. It's a bit time consuming, you do feel you just spent 10-20 minutes going around and just deleting lines, but never mind. So now I've got this really weird looking Tony Stark there, but I'm actually enjoying how little I can make him look like actual Robert Downey Jr., which is more fun for me. Actually, as time goes on, I have thought about giving him a big beard as well, but I kind of want to make him look like he looks a little like Tony Stark. But in Iron Man, was it 3? There was a guy who had a tattoo of Tony Stark on his arm, and it, and Tony Stark didn't recognize it as being a tattoo of him. I love that. So yeah, maybe it's the guy who that guy had a tattoo of instead. As if there is actually another Iron Man out there. That'd be quite cool. So okay, one thing I do want to say is that the Surface Book is actually really, really good for this. Normally, I'd actually sit with this on my lap, hold it with one hand, and actually, use the pen with my other. But because I'm doing this for a video, it's really easy to just sit this on my desk and draw. That's really a nice thing to do. But it's equally as good to work with it on my lap, or sit on the sofa with it and work. But yeah, sitting with it on the desk like this is good. It's always a little funny when you're recording a video because you have to get the camera set up in such a way that you got the camera almost looking over your shoulder, and it's really, really close to you. So that's a bit strange. You feel like you're all penned in, you can't move, and you can be there for quite a while. But it's a lot of fun. Make sure to subscribe, of course. So I've decided to add in a black background now and go around the edge and cut it all out, and that works really well. The only trouble is now, obviously, because I've been painting on a white background for so long, I haven't noticed so many of the highlights. So yeah, there's a bit of trimming to be done. It happens on virtually every painting, but not a problem. It's just a bit time consuming to go around the edges. I'm decided, yeah, okay, I'll add in the base just because I am painting from a figure reference and it's a bit cool, but I'm going to add it in a bit of a subtle way, and I'll add in a background glow as well, just so I get a bit more of the gold in there that I think is nice from the armor. I'll add in a gold highlight around the armor as well, just on certain parts of it. And that's nice because it'll hide a bit of the color that I didn't manage to erase. I'm still trying to keep this quick and sketchy because it's a YouTube video. I don't want to go and spend 2 weeks on an illustration. I'm trying to make him a bit more Robert Downey Jr. Not too much, but just a little more. But still keep him a bit different. Give him blue eyes. That'll help a little bit. But yeah. He looks like he's trying to look more Robert Downey Jr., but not too much. I want him to look like he was a guy who went to cosplay. Yeah, that's where I'm going to go with it. Adding some colours into the background. I'm just using standard Photoshop brushes. This is nothing that you can't do yourself. This is the small star brush, but I've just altered the settings. I've pinched the brush, added in some random scatter effects, and that's brilliant because it makes it look like rain. How cool is that? And also I've used another brush, again the scatter effect, then I've blurred it, and that makes it look like fire. Alright, it's not very good fire, I'll grant you that, but it's concept art fire, and that's good enough for me. So I'm just going to place that around the Avengers logo, which is a bit too subtle for now. But once we put some light on the ground, then I can clone the layers, copy and paste those just to intensify them a bit. I play around with those. Just play around with the hue and the brightness on the floor as well. And then, bring out the logo on the floor. And that should make it really all stand out a bit more. Brilliant. Okay, that works well. Now I'm just going to play with the Iron Man layer itself and add another layer in on top of that, an adjustment layer, just to blend the bottom half of Iron Man there. Maybe look at adding in a blast effect, but nope, I'm not doing that. But that's pretty much it. Finished. I'll just sign it. Even though it's a quick sketch, I always make sure I sign it. And there you go. That's my Iron Man versus their Iron Man. Neither one is the true thing, but I'm happy with that. Hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. There you go, a close-up of the finished thing. Neither one is the true thing, and Robert Downey Jr. would never be happy. Hope you are, though.
As always, check out my other videos. I have quite a few on image reference figures. I'm always on the hunt for image reference figures, on the perfect image reference figure. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on that as well. And I shall see you very, very soon.
Thanks for watching. And be sure to comment, like, and even subscribe to my channel, Lawrence Can Draw. And if you did like what you saw here, you can see more of it on my website, lawrenceman.co.uk.